Hi, welcome to the Crypto Republic. Before we begin today, if you're serious about staying ahead in this once-in-a-lifetime financial shift, make sure you like this video, drop a comment, and subscribe to the Crypto Republic. Hello, XRP Army, and welcome back to the Crypto Republic, your go-to channel for the latest high-energy updates in digital assets. Before we get started with today's business, make sure to smash that like button, ring that bell, and subscribe to the Crypto Republic. We bring you updates every day at noon and 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Stay with me, ladies and gentlemen, because this is information nobody else is connecting yet. Before we dive in, thank you to everyone who takes the time to comment, like, subscribe, and share these videos. Your engagement helps get this information in front of more people. Your support allows me to keep bringing these deep dive, high-value insights to the crypto community, and I know everyone in our community enjoys reading the comments and learning from each other. Just a reminder, this video is for educational purposes only. This is not financial advice. Always do your own research before making any investment decisions. Well, ladies and gentlemen, institutions don't move loud. They move early, quiet, and in the shadows. There's one thing that became crystal clear over the last year. It's the biggest institutional players in the world are no longer ignoring crypto. Think of it like the early 1900s when banks first realized electricity was changing industry forever. They could have dismissed it, but those that embraced it early, like JPMorgan, backing electric utilities, ended up dominating for decades. They're no longer questioning whether blockchain works. They're no longer debating if digital assets belong in finance. They have a plan, and that plan is to build products around blockchain, adopt on-chain strategies, work directly with companies already in this space. And today, we're going to talk about a move from a major U.S. bank that most people missed, but XRP holders absolutely should not. Because once you see how all this connects, you realize this isn't noise. This is positioning. I want to talk about the data layer, major banks, XRP, and stablecoins. Bank of America, the move no one expected. Ladies and gentlemen, Bank of America, one of the big four U.S. banks, manages over $2 trillion in assets. They're now recommending that clients allocate up to 4% of their portfolios in crypto. Let this sink in. They're now recommending that clients allocate up to 4% of their portfolios in crypto. It's massive. They're publicly discussing stablecoins, tokenized deposits, and on-chain payments. Their CEO has even stated a willingness to launch a stablecoin if regulators give the green light. And get this, they hold the #1 position in blockchain-related patents among financial institutions. Amazing, right? With 12% of their patents being blockchain-based. And yes, they are still labeled as a Ripple partner. Historical analogy. Early rail barons laying down tracks for decades of growth. Bank of America is laying the digital rails now. Citi is following the same playbook. Citigroup, or Citi, manages roughly $2.5 trillion in assets. They've recently announced plans to launch crypto custody services, expanding digital asset operations. And they already operate Citi digital assets, ladies and gentlemen. Their progression is expected to move from custody to tokenization and eventually to stablecoins. Here's another historical analogy. Aviation infrastructure, building airports, runways, and control towers before jets arrive. Well, ladies and gentlemen, JPMorgan confirmation, not theory. JPMorgan, managing over $4 trillion in assets, has already tokenized a money market fund, tokenized deposits, and explored stablecoins. They're actively building blockchain-based settlement infrastructure, showing that they're not just experimenting. They're laying the rails for institutional adoption, industrial assembly line analogies, building efficient systems before mass adoption. Let's talk about Wells Fargo and PNC. Wells Fargo is involved through custody infrastructure, partnering with Fireblocks and Fidelity for institutional-grade rails. PNC Bank has been named as Ripple partner in legal and academic documentation. This is the engine of traditional finance slowly turning to digital rails. PwC, big accounting, buy-in. PwC, or PricewaterhouseCoopers, has over 370,000 employees and operates in 149 countries, one of the largest accounting firms in the world. PwC has announced a strategic shift to embrace crypto, citing drivers like Trump-era regulatory changes and stablecoin legislation. Historically, PwC was a Ripple partner back in 2016-2017. Most people have forgotten that. And while the current status is unconfirmed, this still signals enterprise-level buy-in. Here's another historical analogy. PwC as a lighthouse for enterprise risk, guiding companies safely through uncharted waters. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let's take a step back for a few minutes. I want to share some personal insights and stories that connect all of us to XRP today. I remember when XRP first launched, banks were dismissive, skeptical, and the market was tiny. People thought crypto was only for speculators only. But here's the thing. Infrastructure always comes first. Banks build the rails, the patents, the regulatory compliance. Price moves later. Think of it like the internet in the 1990s. Early adopters saw potential built-in service, fiber lines, and protocols. Most people were using dial-up, oblivious to the tech foundations being laid. Those who understood the infrastructure positioned early intentionally. The same is happening with XRP. Every partnership, every license, every stablecoin initiative is quietly laying the track for the next wave. Imagine a country known for extreme caution, like Japan. They don't rush. They calculate. When Japan's Minister of Finance publicly supports integrating crypto and SBI, develops a yen-backed stablecoin. It's like watching a samurai army draw their bow carefully. But once released, the arrow hits its mark. This is why XRP holders should pay attention. The banks, the regulators, and the infrastructure are moving while most people are distracted. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I had to take a hot shave because I had to go to business meetings. Right now, with what I just said and what's happening, and we saw XRP move beautifully up in the charts like we've been talking about the last couple of days. It's probably going to take a rest before it try going higher and pull back and digest what's happened. But there's a lot happening, you know? And overall, there's a line and a phrase that was said constantly on the floor of the Mercantile Exchange. Okay, I'll never forget it. They used to say all the time, and I even say it now, truth is treason in the empire of lies. Truth is treason in the empire of lies. That was always due to agricultural reports that were released from the COT page and a lot of other things about trying to have position before, major moves would happen. Looking at this now, so much speculation about what's happening, what's not happening, where the world's going. We woke up to a different world, And when you look at the markets right now, and this is something that's phenomenally, in my opinion, what's going to happen is a lot of people thought that there'd be rip-your-face-off rallies would continue. Some of them have pulled back, okay? The biggest thing that we see, and we're telling institutions, is to prepare for the blockchain incoming new world order. Why I say the incoming new world order of blockchain is because blockchain represents control, and it's happening. You don't have companies like Charles Schwab talking about this, which they came out and they talked about this yesterday as well. You don't have Vanguard having this exposed now to all their customers. You don't have the banks that we just named gearing up and telling people to go into crypto for no reason. They've been told something behind closed doors that they're getting the green light basically to say it's okay, crypto's the new game in town, okay? Because again, as the world is in some form of resource, conflict that we're seeing, the new world and the new game is crypto, See, ourselves, we're out of a lot of the commodities waiting to go back in. We're out of silver. We're out of gold. We're waiting to go back in because we were selling as the market was going higher because I don't want to be handcuffed to trades if there's a pullback that we can go back in and, go catch another rally where it's going. But when you look at what's happening with XRP and the other cryptos, they're all moving higher. Now everyone's waiting for January 15th to come. They'll start discussing structure. Should be a good thing. But the most important thing is where we're going. Why I said truth is treason in the empire of lies. Because what do they know that we don't? Like when I said last video, how far are people willing to go? What do all these banks and institutions know that we don't? The green light's coming, okay? Because evolution is coming in the financial world. The BRICS, the unit, ADA, whatever they are trying to do right now, that's an old playbook. People that take an old playbook in finance make the mistake that things are always going to stay the same. Nothing stays the same in finance. You can see the price go up and down. It's not going to be the same. The only thing that stays the same is when the markets open and close. It's the only thing that stays the same. So right now, we see some major things happening. With Venezuela, with crude oil, Venezuela has some of the most sour crude oil there is. When you look at crude oil, there's sweet and sour. That's just the level. When something's sweet, there's less refinery steps that have to go in to bring it to market. Sour crude, you have to refine it and step on it a lot before you can bring it to market, right? Venezuela has more than that. They have more oil in the world than anywhere else in the world, and they're very, very sour. Ladies and gentlemen, Our Patreon's up. If you're coming here and you want actionable trade, you want financial advice, you want all these things, tips from the pits, do come and sign up. We have the link right here. That's why we have created this for everybody else, because the market is not in a normal structure anymore. And we're here to help everybody, help themselves take advantage of what's happening. So do sign up for that. That's why that's there. But why I say XRP has a bright future and why I believe a supply shock is coming, like everything, if there's not enough around for someone to buy, it forces the price to go higher. I don't believe in price predictions. I believe in macro updates and macro structural changes. And when I look at macro structural changes coming, you see it happening right now. You see what people want XRP for and why. Okay, so like I keep telling you, you got to have this Gucci clarity right now about why you're getting involved, what you're getting involved with for this frosty long march, cold march up the mountaintop. Because if you can see where the world is going right now, you are not going to get cut up like sushi. Because guess what? We're the remora. We're underneath right now the sharks, and the sharks have left, and they're swimming. And we just got to follow what they're doing and why. It tells a story. So don't FOMO this. Don't freak out and say, oh my God, I missed the boat. I got to run into this. If you've missed some of these moves already, wait for pullbacks. Wait for healthy pullbacks. Things don't parabolically go higher because there's a whole world of XRP haters that cannot wait to sell into this. Why, I don't understand, because that goes back, I don't like this crypto, I don't like that, this, that. It makes no sense to me, because guess what? Cryptos create one thing, green trades, or create alpha that go into our bank accounts, okay? So I don't understand that. Don't throw mud on anybody. We're not in that camp, right? But the world is changing. And with January 15th coming up, that's going to be the beginning of discussions. Could there be a government shutdown? People were asking us. I don't know. That could be a pullback. The world was shocked with a lot of things. But again, all these major banks who are now telling their customers to have exposure, and now you can get crypto action everywhere on the street, that's going to force money into this space. And as money goes into this space, it's going to go higher. So again, if you want more actionable advice and tips from the pits and financial advice whatsoever, trading, macro reports, please do sign up. The link's in the bottom. But again, what a time to be alive, really. And I want you to understand something, ladies and gentlemen. I don't condone war. I believe we're in a financial war. I believe that this is going on for centuries, okay? If you want to talk about central banks, you want to talk about what happens when we're talking about Wellington, the Rothschilds, we talk about central banks, whatever. I look at financially what's going on and what's not happening. The financial wars that go on have been old. They're biblically old. They're like a chessboard. As one piece moves, the other piece moves. I call it the ladder of chaos, as that was taught to me on the floor of the Mercantile Exchange. I'm going to get into that story in another video. The ladder of chaos. All that is there for you to climb. It doesn't matter. The ladder's all there. People are going to fall off and break their neck because they don't got a stop loss. Okay, they're not hooked into it. So when you fall and break your neck, you can't keep climbing. But if you got a stop loss and you're hooked on, you fall, you get a little whacked out, but you can still keep climbing. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you missed some of these moves already, whether it's HBAR, XRP, XLM, wait for healthy pullbacks before entering and use cold storage wallets. But I keep telling you that XRP is like oil in the engine of the machine where this is going, because they keep making acquisitions and they're building something new. All I know is this, and I've been telling this to everybody over the phone this morning, okay, and conference calls. The financial system's evolving. The blockchain new world order is coming in. You either get down or you lay down. Doesn't matter. If you want to miss this, you're going to miss this. So you either get on the Mack truck or you're going to get run over by this. That's what it is. You know, like I said, the march is cold, long up this mountain. But at the end of the day, we see where we're going. The regulation, the green light. The Genius Act, July 2025, was the first comprehensive U.S. stablecoin regulatory framework. Clarified federal versus stated oversight, banking authority roles, and issuer guidelines. Here's an analogy. 1930s FDIC. Rules clarified. Industry can move without fear. This is the final green light banks were waiting for. Japan strategic signals. Japan's Minister of Finance publicly supported integrating crypto into the financial system. Here's another samurai analogy. Carefully, deliberate, strategic. When Japan moves, it matters globally. SBI plus stablecoins plus tokenization. SBI Holdings partnered with Startail Group to develop a regulated yen-dominated stablecoin. Fully compliant with Japanese regulations, they have tokenization initiatives underway. An RLUSD distribution is planned for Q1 this year. SBI is a major supporter of XRP and the XRP Ledger. Here's another analogy. First train rails laid down. XRP is the track. SBI powers the engine. Stablecoin rails. XRP Ledger versus Ethereum. RLUSD is issued on both Ethereum and XRP Ledger. Here's a key point. While RLUSD exists on Ethereum too, institutions and regulators are likely to favor XRP Ledger for speed, cost efficiency, and compliance. Ethereum equals local roads. XRP Ledger interstated, highway, with dedicated lanes for heavily institutional freight. Ripple built years ahead. Ripple has over 500 institutional partners, 50-plus U.S. money transmitter licenses, NYDFS approvals, and an OCC conditional banking charter. Let this sink in, ladies and gentlemen. Infrastructure is designed for hundreds of thousands of transactions per second. Asia Burley quoted, Ripple developed its technology from day one to scale for banks like Bank of America, Santander, and other major global institutions. Our solutions designed for hundreds of thousands of transactions per second. The scale these banks require. Legal confirmation, ladies and gentlemen. According to Duke University law, Ripple is recognized as an alternative to corresponding banking, with over 200 financial institutions, including Bank of America and PNC, as partners. What this means for XRP holders? Institutions don't move price first, ladies and gentlemen. They move infrastructure first. Here's a historical analogy for you. First, telegraph lines. Then stock market didn't explode until rails, wires were in place. Banks are showing their hand. XRP sits exactly where it was designed to be. Ladies and gentlemen, your engagement helps get this information in front of more people. Thank you so much for tuning in, liking, subscribing, and sharing your thoughts. Your support allows me to keep bringing these deep dive, high-value insights to the crypto community. Well, if you made it this far in the video, I do appreciate you. I want to go over something else that I find very, very important. As I've said in another video, when we were doing roadshows first in Indonesia and Southeast Asia, mostly in Indonesia, for solvent extraction, electrowinning with platinum and palladium, I remember people thought that we were totally nuts when I said, I have this ore, this rock. I'm going to put it in this washing machine, which is a fancy word that for an autoclave, so people can understand. And we're going to wash the rock with acid and leach out precious metals. People thought we were out of our minds, and what had happened in that country up to a period of time, people were quite afraid. If you for what reasons of why, if you're really into the metals, space, you'll understand why. I said some of the stories in this video, and thank everyone for their well wishes. I'm still getting over COVID. It's pretty brutal, I got to say that, because people thought we were snake oil salesmen, and we were bringing value to local communities. We were bringing values to regional communities. And we were letting people take control of their own resources in their own country, and we were helping them. What XRP is doing today, and what Ripple is doing as well, is they're helping the next evolution of finance deal with a problem, as far as I'm concerned. Look, there's a big problem. The world printed a lot of money. It didn't work for the Japanese with zero-rate interest rate policies. How did it work for the West? It hasn't, okay? So if you look at what the Japanese are doing now, they're ahead of this problem of what we're going to have to go through, right? So we can either take the same playbook that they're doing, or we can come up with something different, a different plan, okay? Because, you got to have a plan. XRP, as far as I'm concerned, and this is just my opinion and what I'm telling people, this is not advice, okay? It is a solution to a very vast problem, okay? A big problem. As far as I'm concerned, I think the whole FX market over in London, they're going to lose their vig on what they're doing because it's not containable. The entire paper metals market, as far as I'm concerned, is in a Chernobyl meltdown mode right now, okay? But XRP and what it was created for was designed for this situation. Same way that I compared it to Patton's Third Army when he had a plan to save the boys at Bastogne. I'm not going to sit here and talk about price predictions, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, because at the end of the day, I believe the utility inside of XRP commands a much, much higher price than most people can conceive. That's what I believe, right? Because that's just what I believe the problem it's going to solve. But at the end of the day, the old banking world is burning down. Anybody that's going to try to debate this with you, I'd like to hear their comments right here. Do you think that the banking system is cooked, is done? And do you think that the old banking families are the ones standing in the way of Ripple's, ascent and XRP's utilization? Okay, because again, my theory comes back to this. Nothing worked in money printing ever. So we followed a playbook that other countries did years before we did, and it's never worked out. So we have to have a solution that no one's tried yet. And I believe XRP is the solution for the control and the speed of money. Now, where you derive a value for that, I don't know. There's other YouTube people and influencers or YouTube analysts that are probably a lot brighter than me in that kind of economic theory. I'm only bringing what I've learned from the trading for the Mercantile Exchange from generations. I look at me as I'm the Fort Apache, the last standing fort, of floor traders from the Mercantile Exchange, of what was taught, tradecraft forever. So as far as I'm concerned, I would love to have conversations with some of these amazing, smart YouTube, other channels about what they have to say about why, okay, and why it is. Because I believe, again, in what I've been explaining to family offices, funds of funds, all over the world, the utility and the problems it solves commands a price tag much higher than this. So again, it's no different. Why compare it to fossil fuels, crude oil? When you own what's in the ground, the reserves, you own the future consumption, and you dictate what it's going to be done. So to me, that is what I believe and where we're going. And now as we wake up to the financial Goliaths, all recommending crypto, and we've seen price moves in the last couple of days that are spectacular. Again, they're waiting. They're waiting for the rip your face off rally. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to have a great day. I want you to stay emotionless. Always remember, this content is for informational and entertainment purposes only. It should not be taken as financial advice. Always do your own research and consult a licensed financial advisor before making investment decisions. Remember, the game is changing, and those who understand it first will benefit most. Make sure you're on the right side of it. You have two choices. Be like the crowd, reacting after the move, rationalizing why you missed it, or be the one who saw behind the curtains, understood the infrastructure shift, and positioned early, intentionally. Some moments in history are loud. The ones that change everything are quiet, right until the moment they're not. This is one of those moments. Do not blink. The world is distracting you with noise, while XRP continues developing behind the scenes, building momentum. Stay sharp, stay informed, accumulate knowledge. Your move now will be remembered. This is not the end of the story. This is just the beginning. This opened your eyes. Smash that like button. Ring that bell. Leave a comment with your thoughts. Turn on notifications. And most importantly, subscribe to the Crypto Republic. We break down major global banking trends, shaping digital assets, giving you content, clarity, and research you can use. Don't just watch history happen. Stay informed, stay ahead, and stay in the Republic.